Not everyone, though, follows your physique and believes at the same time that you are a natural bodybuilder. Let's talk about the doubt or the people who challenge that about you.
They have every right to do it. That doesn't affect me in any way. How is my natty status gonna affect their reps in the gym?
That's so true. Like, why are you stressing over whether or not someone is natty or not? It doesn't concern you. You know, you should be focused on your own discipline. You should be focused on your own consistency. You should be focused on your own body, your own physique. When we deal with someone with incredible genetics, because we got to talk about genetics, right? He's got some phenomenal genetics. I mean, look at his arms right there, you know? One thing I like about Oscar, his physique reminds me of 1992. I'm sure you've heard the rumors, but in this video, I'm going to break down one of the most impressive natural bodybuilders out there right now, Oscar Moscat. Is he natty or not? I mean, his physique is absolutely incredible. So let's get into it.
And all that, but there's also there's a less risk of dying with natural bodybuilding, and it's cool to see what you can achieve naturally and just.
I mean, look at that. Look at those pipes.
It's cool to see what.
I mean, look at his arms, bro. Look at those arms. I don't know how big they are. They look at least 22 inches. Phenomenal. Actually, in this frame here, he actually looks like a younger Kevin Levrone. He has structure. He has symmetry, balance. He's got a nice flow to his physique. All right, we're going to talk more about this during the video. Like, share, subscribe, by the way. And, you know, I'm not saying whether he is or not, you know, natty or not. I'm going to hold back for now. Let's get some context.
What you can achieve naturally and just being dedicated and consistent.
Now, one thing I like about this video, and by the way, this is by Muscle and Strength. They did a sort of like a day with Oscar Moscat. They got to hang out with him, hung out at his crib, went for grocery shopping. So we got some really good insight into how he eats, how he trains, you know, his lifestyle, day-to-day work ethic, all right? Top-notch individual. I'm not here to trash talk him, right? So we're all learning here. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the iron sport, in the game. One thing I like about Oscar is that he's actually helping out in the community in the sense that he trains with a crew and he encourages them to stay natural, which is always a good thing. I have guys who come up to me as the older guy in the gym, right? The younger guys, they kind of sort of look up to me. And I encourage them to stay natural and give it their best, give it their all. It takes time. This is a long game, bro. It takes time to build quality muscle, all right?
Not everyone, though, follows your physique and believes at the same time that you are a natural bodybuilder. Let's talk about the doubt or the people who challenge that about you.
They have every right to do it. That doesn't affect me in any way. How is my natty status gonna affect their reps in the gym?
That's so true. Like, why are you stressing over whether or not someone is natty or not? It doesn't concern you. You know, you should be focused on your own discipline. You should be focused on your own consistency. You should be focused on your own body, your own physique. When we deal with someone with incredible genetics, because we got to talk about genetics, right? He's got some phenomenal genetics. I mean, look at his arms right there, you know? One thing I like about Oscar, his physique reminds me of 1992 Flex Wheeler. For those of you who followed bodybuilding era during that, you know, the sort of early 90s, you can appreciate someone with this kind of round muscle belly. This is like Flex Wheeler type shit, like right here. You know, look at his arms, look at the flow, look at the balance, look at the tricep, look at the biceps. The entire thing looks like a cannonball. See, when you talk about aesthetics, you got to think not only about the size of the muscle, but you got to think about the joints, the insertion and the origin of the muscle. What does the actual shape of the muscle looks like? He does have big arms, but one of the things he has that most people don't, small, tiny joints. We're talking Flex Wheeler type joints, right? You find this in a lot of African Americans. You find this in a lot of blacks. You find this in a lot of Africans, right? And so what that does is that it gives the illusion of being sort of cartoonish. You know, you always hear like commentary, bodybuilding commentaries talk about that cartoonish look. Right now in the IFBB open division, you have guys like Andrew Jacked, Samson Dowda. They exhibit that sort of cartoon looking physique. I would give it more to Andrew Jacked because he's got that round muscle belly. And you look at his joints, they're really tiny. So that looks like almost like that Popeye effect, right? It gives the illusion of having larger, bigger muscles. Now, I'm not saying it's better than other sort of shapes out there, but visually speaking, yes, this looks more impressive than a muscle where the joint is this wide and then the muscle belly is this big and then the other joint is this big, all right? Totally different ball game here.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
If you want to dedicate your time to someone else's life when you have your own to worry about, that's on you. I don't get bothered by anyone's opinions. Everybody's entitled to them. You're more than welcome to say and do and whatever. I don't care.
You know, you could tell that he's heard this so many times. Are you natty? Are you natural? Are you taking something? What are you taking? You know what I mean? Like, he's probably reached a point where he's just absolutely fed up and he's just like, you know what? It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what I sort of prove to the people out there. People will always believe that I'm taking something. You know what I mean? So I like his response here.
The only people I care about have my last name.
His family.
Anything outside of that, your opinion literally does not matter. I just met you.
Yeah.
And I'm not,
No, I
not
get
in a
it.
rude way, but if you had an opinion that I wasn't natural, but you're not telling me, which is perfectly fine, you're still cool. Like, I don't
Yeah,
hate you.
sure.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're entitled to have that opinion. I am not an idiot. I look in the mirror and I look at how I see myself, but I don't think that that's anything unachievable.
Ah, you see what I mean? People, that's a good point. People have different reference points as to what's achievable, right? So he looks in the mirror and he says, God damn, like, I'm big, I'm jacked, I'm swole, right? And so for other people, this type of physique is absolutely not possible, right? Doesn't matter what they do. That's when we're talking more about genetics. And second of all, I mean, the guy puts in the work, right? This is his life. You know, he's eating his 5-6 meals. I urge you guys to check out the video. I'm going to leave a link in the description. But if you want to get more into like his lifestyle, he talks about it. The meals, the prep, the amount of protein he takes. He consumes a lot of protein, right? In the form of whey protein. He's not eating 2 meals a day and calling it a day. He's actually eating quite a bit of food, but he's also supplementing with double scooped portions of protein. So, you know, all this stacked over consistency over the years can result in something like this. I'm not saying that if you try to follow what he's got going on, you're going to look like this. That's not what I'm saying. But he definitely put in the work, all right?
It might be to 99% of whatever. I didn't choose my genetics. I was just born like this.
Yeah.
Listen to what he says here. He says something really interesting.
So the answer that those people want to hear is, don't bodybuild. Don't do the thing that you're good at, because I don't want to have to see you.
All right. So we just got done.
All right, that's a good point. Don't do the thing you're good at because I don't want to have to see you, right? And it's amazing how he looks like Kevin Levrone here. But that is a good point, because when someone thrives in a sport, nobody tells them to quit. You know, if you see someone in your neighborhood and he's good at basketball, you're going to say, hey, man, you know, you really are good at playing basketball. Maybe you should, you know, pursue it. There are some guys like this out there who are really talented. He's one of those guys when it comes to bodybuilding, that's his lane. Nobody can take this away from him. Maybe in a different sport, he would absolutely suck, but in bodybuilding, this guy's got it. He is the guy. He's got the frame, he's got the height, he's got the round muscle bellies, the conditioning, and most importantly, he's got the discipline. Who are we to say, you know what? I don't want to see you doing this thing. He should absolutely go for it. I always find it funny that when you're in school and you have that kid in class who's really smart, right? Straight A student, gets it. He gets math, he gets algebra, he gets all that stuff. And I always find it funny how everybody says, oh, wow, what a smart guy he is. Johnny's so smart. He keeps landing A's. But when it comes to bodybuilding and someone who has the propensity or the genetics to actually be a top tier guy, we automatically assume it's steroids. Like, we never make that connection with someone who's smart in class, smart in school. We never say, oh, you're taking brain steroids. You're taking some kind of compound that makes it so that you understand, like, you know, quadratic equations and algebra. Nobody ever says that about smart people. But when it comes to something like this, and look, basically we're not all the same. Some people will respond better at bodybuilding. And I'm not talking about responding to gear or anything like that. I'm just saying they will respond to regular type training. You go to the gym, you spend an hour in the gym, a guy like this will probably get more out of that workout than you or I, right? There's just different levels to this. He found his lane, and it's bodybuilding. That's all I can say. I don't know how to say this. All right, so let's skip to some of his training. I want to catch him in the gym and see what he has to say about his, his training philosophy.
But as it gets progressively heavier, there's only so much you can do.
So we get to the gym, and I start to quickly understand this circuit style training, which is really like kind of like a cardio session as well. Talk about your mentality with training and how you're approaching things right now.
Yeah, so that circuit style training is something I've always adopted. I've always trained that way because I've always trained with big groups. So I typically have one less machine than the size of the group. So at least one person's resting at a time. But yeah, we do circuit training and we increase the weight on one main exercise and the other two are kind of auxiliary. And then, I just kind of go like that throughout the whole session until I start feeling tired.
That's interesting. So he's doing circuit training. And I think what that does is that it keeps him in a sort of like permanent aerobic state. So he's always burning calories. It's basically one station. He does it and then he moves on to the next. He does the sets and then he does the reps and then he moves on to another exercise. I've tried this before. It's really taxing on your heart. It takes a while before you get used to it.
Once I start feeling tired, then we dial it back a little bit and we just go heavy on two exercises. Or I'll go super, super light on one or body weight something, and then the other two are just heavy stuff.
And the fact that he's not really going like balls to the walls, like we're not talking about Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates style training here. I think he's doing more higher reps, moderate weight, right? And that's enough for him to achieve this kind of physique, which tells me that perhaps there is some kind of genetic component to this,
But it's just
because this wouldn't work for a lot of guys. A lot of guys have to, get down and dirty and push a lot of weight to possess this type of physique.
It's always how I've trained, how I've always gotten my body used to the volume. I do the front and back splits that I told you about. Yeah, so I'll train the front of my body one day and then the back of my body the next day. And I'll do that every 48 hours. Every body part is getting hit 3 times a week.
Every body part gets hit 3 times a week. That's a lot of volume, I kind of agree with that because I think when you're a natty, you really have to hit the muscle more frequently during the week. I know a lot of guys, that's the problem when you follow guys on gear, right? Their body responds differently to regular training. So when they hit a muscle, they recover instantly, or sometimes they hit it once a week and that's enough. I think for a natty, once a week hitting a muscle, like if you hit chest on Monday, I generally like to hit chest again possibly maybe Thursday or Friday at the very least. I find that when you let too much time go, especially at our age, right? I'm 50, so I think the muscle sort of like atrophies, right? Because we're also fighting things like sarcopenia. And so you just need to hit the muscle a little more frequent per week. But 3 times, I don't know. Seems to be working for him. I would recommend twice a week per body part. Legs, hit them twice a week. Chest, twice a week. Shoulders, maybe once, maybe twice a week,
Which is crazy volume. But
it is crazy volume.
It works for me. And there's recovery days, active recovery days in between there.
That's not for everybody, but it works for him.
But for the most part, I'm having at least one movement that's heavy on either the front or the back. And it's usually leg related because that's, for me at least, my weak body part. I'm trying to bring up my legs.
I think that like training for natural bodybuilding is different.
Yeah, it can be.
I think personally, as a natty, you really have to focus on legs. Your legs will lag, and especially with age, but you really have to hit them at least twice a week. And that goes both for quads as well as hamstrings.
It's different in the sense like you don't recover as fast.
Right.
So you obviously have to be a lot more careful in what you're doing. But
it sounds like your routine takes that into account because the time the muscles you hit, the second time it's hit, it's more of an accessory,
exactly.
active recovery.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I love this video, man. This is stuff that I've discovered over the years when it comes to training, right? So I used to hit the body part once a week, and then I've explained to you what happens when you only hit it once a week, and by day 6, day 7, it starts to deflate, right? But twice a week for me is the sweet spot. Sometimes with my clients, I'm a personal trainer, I urge them to hit a body part twice a week. Now, here's the thing. When you hit that body part for the second time, you don't necessarily have to go balls to the wall, right? So if you had a tough chest day on Monday, the next time you hit it, which could be a Thursday or Friday, maybe back off, right? Don't do as much volume. Don't do the same weight you push. Maybe you bench 2 plates on Monday. Do not bench 2 plates on the Thursday. Maybe make it so that your max weight is like a plate and a half or thereabouts, right? That's going to be the sweet spot, right? Because I find that when you're working at this capacity on one day, and then the next day or the next workout, you work at this capacity, I think this is a good balance that keeps you, first of all, not burnt out. You know, you avoid burnout, and you also avoid injury. If you're always benching your max weight every single 4 or 5 days, it can wear you out, not only your nervous system, but also your joints, right? So I like what he says here. Back in the day, we used to call up the main day for the body part, like chest, and then we'd have a touch-up day, which was like 3 or 4 days later, where we're just touching the muscle, right? We're not going all out as the main day, right? 2 completely different variables here.
Go.
All right, we got some glamour shots. That's all good. I think the last thing I want to do is go over some of his nutrition. Let's talk about some of his meals. Yeah, here we go. Get some in, because you can't watch this without getting insight into his nutrition. Nutrition is 80% of the game.
Grocery store today, just to get some carbs and a few things you needed that you were running low on. Let's talk about your unique mentality with food and your approach to nutrition.
Yep. So for me, I just focus on the main macros. So your protein, carbs, and fats. I prioritize
That's all we've got.
A lot. So I literally just have whey protein in the morning, afternoon, and night. For protein sources, that's my main go-to. I'll do 3 scoops in the morning. I'll do 2 in the afternoon, 3 at night.
That is insane. 3, 2, 3. So my man is taking 3 shakes a day, morning, afternoon, and night. 3 scoops, I would assume, is about 25 grams per scoop. So we're talking about 75 grams right off rip, right? Second protein shake, 2 scoops, so that's 50. So we're already at 125. 75 plus 50, 125. And then finally at nighttime, another 3 scoops. Bro, that is actually 200 grams of protein just from supplements, whey protein alone. All right, so he's got meals lined up, but just 3 shakes a day, and he's making his sort of like protein requirements. He's meeting that protein requirement. What I find fascinating is that you have so many different variables here. You have guys who say, "Oh, I don't do whey protein anymore." They don't do it. They don't like it. They some of them say, "I don't need to take it," right? They strongly believe that they can get most of their protein requirements from food alone. I kind of believe that, but I also do the supplements here. All right, I also do some protein shakes. I don't rely on it as much as Oscar. You know, obviously I don't look like him. He's at a totally different league here. But I will do 1 or 2 shakes per day, right? And sometimes I'll single scoop it, which is about 25 grams, 25 grams per scoop. And then sometimes I'll double scoop it, right? So it really depends. But 3 shakes, it's worth trying. When I was in my 20s, I did do what he was talking about just now. You know, I'd ingest way more shakes. I'd have 3, sometimes 4. And at one point, I even had 5 shakes per day. I'm going to do a video about this because the results will shock you. All right. I'm not going to divulge too much, but it is something. And over the years, I've sort of scaled it back because I have the ability to just rely more on food. When I was younger, I was, in university. I worked a lot, yada, yada, yada. And so when you're on the go, you rely on protein shakes.
Pre-workout, I'll usually do oats with fruits. Post-workout, if it's a really hard day, I'll have some fruits with my protein shake. But yeah, it's really, really simple because I don't like to think about the foods I'm gonna eat. It's readily available, it's right there. So whey protein is like my main thing. It's like the one thing that I always spend my money on.
You know what? I'm going to say something. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Now, I'm not a competitive bodybuilder, but I would love to see Oscar ingest more food and perhaps rely a little less on the protein. You know, instead of having those 3 protein shakes, maybe 2, and maybe replace one of them with a real meal, chicken, beef, pork, whatever the case may be, right? With some rice and some vegetables. Like, I think gradually that would actually improve his physique. I just like the idea of consuming real food. You know, a lot of those classic bodybuilders from the 80s, they always recommended eat real food. The supplements were exactly just that. The supplements, right? You take them in addition, but they didn't rely too much on the protein shakes.
But in terms of snacks, like I got Rice Krispies and things like that. Those things I know I can eat. So because they're low calorie, they're fast digesting, I can just consume them, go to the gym if I don't have time. I'm not always home. Sometimes I'm at work and I have to go to the gym. So it's right there.
Anyways, guys, I'm going to leave it here. The video is getting kind of long. I'm going to leave the link to this interview. This is on the Muscle and Strength YouTube channel. I urge you guys to check them out. Links will be left down below. There are, I think, 2 videos where the guy running the channel actually interviewed and hung out with Oscar Moscat. So if you want more insight into his day-to-day life, his training philosophy, some other things that, you know, he's really passionate about, you guys can check that out. If you have any questions or comments you want to make about this reaction video, just leave a comment down below. And I guess the most important thing is, what do you believe? Do you think that Oscar is actually natty? Because a lot of the comments here, before I close out the video, you'd be surprised, man. There's a range of comments here. One of them says, just like Mike O'Hearn, ha ha ha, funny. Here's a guy who says he looks like you know, Kevin Levrone. Someone else made another comment saying that he looks natural to me. He is incredibly gifted. Arms are crazy, yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's a mixed bag. You have some people who claim that he's not, and you have people who say that he is. So, you know, I want to hear your point of view. What do you think? Is Oscar actually natural, natty, or not? Leave a comment down below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.